So I was on Telegram this morning, checking through, different groups and the messages that they're posting. And I came across this one post about this priest that was telling children that Santa wasn't real, which is the truth. And, I stated that in Who is Your Provider, my first book, you know, and in my books, I try to at least go to the beginning of when, we were children, where the heart began, and, try to minister from that place, up until the present. And so in the book, I more or less was, having people to reevaluate what they believe, get rid of anything that's a lie and embrace the truth itself. And, you know, if anything is holding us back from Jesus and for a greater revelation of who he is, then, this is something that we really need to, really focus on. Anything that you're doing in this world, any thought patterns, any mindsets that is holding you back from Jesus and for true freedom, then it needs to be, dealt with. And so in the book, I was more or less, taking things from, helping people to realize what they believe and the things they tell others, it could be what they tell their children. And if you're really going to take your faith seriously and really follow God, then the things that you've done in the past, that has really held you back should be something that should be dealt with. So in the book, I more or less was telling, putting it forth before parents that why would you teach your child something that's not true, something that's a lie? I mean, looking at it from the heart, I can understand how, you want it to be fun for your children. You want it to be like a magical thing for them. You may have believed in Santa when you were a kid, so you want to pass that on to your kid. You want them to have the same joy that you do. Wake up telling them that, Santa's real and stuff like that, and wake up and then they see presents under the tree and they're like, oh, wow, he really is real. And so, there is this illusion that is false that you're putting before a child. And when that illusion is broken, when the truth is revealed, what is going to happen? Now, I'm not coming from this place, trying to burst bubbles of people, trying to be a David Downer, ruin things that are fun. I was a kid once, and my parents told me that, Santa was real. And, I'd see all these movies, such as, Santa Claus the movie with Dudley Moore and John Lithgow. And then I'd see all these, claymation, movies about Santa, watched about Frosty, the snowman, and all these things. And it set up what I thought to be truth in my mind. That, wow, there's a movie about Santa, so he really must be real. So I don't place all the blame on my parents, but on, this false illusion that people are putting forth. You go into stores, you see, people dressed up as Santa, and it gets kids, happy. And I'm not dismissing the heart of it. You may just want to do it to make children happy. But the fact is what happens when they find out that it's not true? And people were criticizing apparently this priest until he recanted what he said. So, that just doesn't make any sense to me. That here you want to train your child to be a good citizen, to obey the laws, but then you're telling them that honesty is important. You're telling them that they need to tell the truth and not lie. But what are you doing when you're telling them that Santa is real? When I was a kid, I believed in Santa. And, like I said, I've seen it from movies. I see it in commercials. I've seen, the advertising in stores. And one night on Christmas Eve, when I went to bed, I was woken up by a noise. And I was like, oh, wow, is that Santa? And so I got out of my bed and I was creeping very quietly so that I wouldn't make any kind of sound. And I got out of my room, and of course my room was right here. And I remember there was a doorway right there, and then the living room was right as you turn. And so I got up, and I think I was creeping on my knees, and I went over and I peeked around the side, and I saw my parents putting presents under the tree. I was like, where's Santa? And I was hurt. I said, he's not real? I thought that to myself. And I don't think my parents ever admitted that he wasn't, that he wasn't real. But I came to that realization myself that he wasn't real because they were putting presents under the tree. And somebody could say, well, Santa hasn't come yet. Well, I looked at what they had put down and it didn't look any different. There wasn't any more presents. And then it looked the same as when my parents put them down. And then, some of the presents I think they wrote from Santa, but it wasn't Santa. It was them putting it under the tree. So, it showed me that it was a lie, and I was heartbroken afterwards. So, like I said, looking at it from the heart, I can understand that parents want to make it fun. But on the flip side, you're telling your children that, you want them to be truthful, you don't want them to lie, but what are you doing to them when you're telling them that Santa is real when he's not? And, that's hypocrisy. And so, is this the kind of, is this what you want to do with your children? Is this the kind of lies that you want to tell them? And so, tell me, how do you think your children would react if they were to find out that Santa wasn't real? Would they be upset? My guess is that they probably would be. And, maybe there's some children out there that, refuse to believe the truth and want to believe, the lie. And, up to that point, that's up to them then. But as long as you're taking the time and telling them the truth that he is not real and that, it was just something to take people's eyes off, the real meaning of the season, which is Jesus. And so, we want to really raise our children up the way they're supposed to be. We want them, to obey the laws of God. We want them to be truthful. We don't want them lying. We don't want them stealing. We want them to do right. So we need to set up a foundation of truth in their lives. So, you know, I know I told my son that he wasn't real, and I believe he still insists that he is. So that's on him. And my wife has done so with her girls, she's telling them that he wasn't real, and the second oldest insisted that he was. So that's probably long past now, but I think it's very important that you're truthful with a child. And the thing is that there's going to be a lot of parents out there that wouldn't appreciate, the truth, and their kids finding out the truth about Santa from other kids. And I think they would be very angry. So, I guess in that situation, you're like, okay, don't say nothing to them. Let them find out on their own. You know, it should be in the parents' ball court that, that they need to tell their children the truth. So, I wanted to share that thought with you, because I think it's pretty sad that this priest is getting criticized for wanting to tell the people the truth. You know, it's important to tell people the truth, and he was being forced to recant what he said, which would be a lie. So that's just something I wanted to share with you. I don't know if you know anybody that has done the same, has insisted on telling children a lie instead of the truth. So if you don't have kids yet, where do you stand with that? Do you want to, encourage them in this fantasy slash lie? Or do you want to let them know the truth that, yeah, the person purported to be Santa Claus was actually St. Nicholas, and he was a Christian, and he gave gifts to children until he was martyred for his faith. So you can let them know the truth that, this person purported to be Santa Claus is actually St. Nicholas. And it doesn't mean that you stop giving gifts to people, because Jesus gave us gifts. He gave us the greatest gift and that's salvation, a new life in him. So there's nothing wrong with giving people gifts, but, you just need to watch about, what you're telling the kids. You want them to be truthful. You don't want, to encourage them to lie, which if you're telling them something that's not true, like Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy, then, you're only encouraging them that it's okay to lie. And so when they go to lie, you're telling you that's not right. Well, you told me about Santa. That isn't right. So, you're backed up against the wall. So why not at the beginning just be truthful, and let them know, that that's what you honor is truth. So I'm going to end here. Thank you for taking the time to watch.